Tonight, the Australia Day party across Perth. New citizens sworn in. Incredible people honoured for making the nation a better place.
Date debate. Invasion Day protests hit the streets. The public holiday declared painful.
Airport drama. Retraining ordered after pets linger on the hot Perth tarmac wrapped in plastic.
Police swoop after 7 News broadcasts shocking video from Ellenbrook shops.
From kitchen to court, the bitter battle over who invented butter chicken.
And Grand Slam, the world #1 out of the Australian Open.
Live from Perth, 7 News with Susannah, Carr and Ardon.
Good evening and welcome to 7 News. Thousands have celebrated Australia Day to honour what they love about our country.
It's a day of celebration, but also now permanently a day of reflection.
At beaches and parks across the state, there were picnics and barbecues, while protesters highlighting the national divide rallied in the city. New citizens were welcomed, swearing allegiance to their adopted home, with the biggest ceremony in the country held at Joondalup.
And that's where Alice Murray begins our public holiday coverage.
From our newest Australians to our proudest.
Aussie, Aussie, Aussie.
In our waters, on the foreshore and in the sky. Most were soaking in the warmth on a picture-perfect Australia Day in WA. The competitions, the entertainers and the animals, everything had a touch of Oz, including the warmth, 31 degrees and sunny, but some got too heated.
That's a fight.
The water police called into Rocky Bay as a mid-river brawl broke out. Despite a call to change the date, citizenship ceremonies pushed ahead. And nowhere in the country gained more citizens than Joondalup. 300 took their pledges.
With your best Aussie accents, please repeat after me. She'll be right. Good on you, mate. There you go. You're certainly Australians. Well done, everybody.
You are in the best state, in the best country in the world. And I'm sure, Mayor Jacob, you would also add that it's the best local government.
For many, it's been a long wait.
It's been 18 years being in Australia.
We're happy, and I'm happy because my son is here now.
I was a backpacker in Sydney, ran out of money there, and then came over to Perth, where I heard there's a lot of opportunity. 12 years later, here I am.
Really good, because it finally gives me chances to do some things I've never been able to do.
This is just a tiny fraction of those who became Australian today. We have 15,000 new citizens from every corner of the globe.
We have conflict, sadly, over the world, and yet in Australia we live in such a precious, peaceful and safe country.
This afternoon, crowds hit the city with a countdown on to this year's fireworks and drone show.
My favourite is the last shot before the drones come home. I won't give that away, but it is a very unique Australian icon that I think everyone will find quite funny.
A surprise in store, perhaps, for those lucky enough to secure the best view.
Aussie, Aussie, Aussie.
Alice Murray, 7 News.
We're live tonight with thousands in the city and the suburbs for Australia Day events. First to Rachel Tassiger at Langley Park. Rachel, 300,000 people used to line the Swan River. How many are there tonight?
It's still busy, Rick. 60,000 are expected here. Lots of people getting down early to get a prime position along the banks of the Swan for the City of Light show. A 3D drone display will light up the sky from 8:15, with organisers promising it will be bigger and better than we've seen before. It will then be followed by fireworks. The drone show is designed to be watched from Langley Park. Don't head to South Perth, you'll miss the main event. If you're still planning on coming down here, there are road closures in place. Public transport is free with a smart rider. And make sure you're respectful to others around so everyone can enjoy their night. Sue?
Rachel, thank you. And Chantel too is in Armadale tonight. And Chantel, you're at one of the suburbs putting on fireworks over the long weekend.
I am, Sue. I'm here in Armadale. This is a hugely popular event, as you can see behind me. Everyone is getting right into it and is very excited. Thousands are already here getting this best spot for the fireworks. They start at 8:30 tonight. There's also carnival rides, a free music show and food vans as well. And they're expecting up to 20,000 people here in Armidale tonight. Around the suburbs in Maddington and Caddington, there's also smaller events as well. And tomorrow night in Rockingham, they're having their big Australia Day celebrations. Fireworks at 8:30 and celebrations from 5:45 on the Rockingham foreshore. So that's tomorrow night. From here in Armidale, it's back to you, Rick.
Thanks, Chantel. January 26 for many has been a day of protest rather than celebration. An alternative anniversary called Invasion Day. Thousands marched through the city calling for the date to be changed in scenes echoed around the nation.
There was dancing in the streets, but this was no celebration.
Always will be Aboriginal land.
January 26, a day of action and solidarity for many.
No pride! No pride in genocide!
Thousands gathered for Perth's Invasion Day march in Forest Place and then spread across the city. The protests echoed nationwide.
There is a huge disconnect between blackfellas.
In Sydney, a call for Australia Day to be abolished altogether.
It's one thing to change the date, but that's not going to change the fact of the history and what First Nations people had faced.
Numbers bolstered by another group of protesters, the pro-Palestinian movement.
It's the same fight against white supremacy, against colonists, against people who've had their land stolen from them.
Always will be Aboriginal land!
In the nation's capital, they marched on Parliament House, a cordon of police guarding the doors.
What do we want? When do we want it?
On the steps of the Victorian Parliament, heavy support for people in Palestine.
Our struggle is one. Our liberation is one.
There were big crowds in Brisbane, an Aboriginal flag suspended from a city bridge as crowds voiced their opinion about a conflict on the other side of the world.
Free, free Gaza!
At one stage, the Gabba delayed opening for the Windies test as people marched toward the stadium.
How dare you!
Perth police say there were no issues, a peaceful protest.
No justice, no peace, no racist police!
Rachel Tassaka, 7 News.
Police in Sydney cleared passengers from a train before surrounding a neo-Nazi group. 61 people were dressed in black, wearing face coverings and carrying shields. They were given move-on notices at North Sydney, stopping them from crossing the Harbour Bridge and heading into the central business district.
White men are not allowed to assemble and celebrate Australia Day on Australia Day, and this is the tyranny that we live in.
Police also seized an offensive flag. The New South Wales Premier responded, saying normal people don't celebrate Australia Day wearing balaclavas.
The High Commission in London has held a low-key event to mark Australia Day. It's a departure from the black tie fundraising gala that's been held for the past 20 years, which was this year deemed too expensive. Instead, hundreds of expats gathered at Australia House for what was billed as an evening of culture and culinary delights.
More than 1,000 Australians from all walks of life have been recognised in this year's Australia Day honours list.
The recipients include some of our best-known faces, including Perth burn specialist Fiona Wood and former Sunrise host David Koch.
From inventing revolutionary spray-on skin to treating Bali bombing victims, Perth burn specialist and plastic surgeon Dr Fiona Wood today named an Officer of the Order of Australia.
It's an amazing honour, but with it comes this responsibility to think, whoa, gosh, I've really got to try and keep working hard, drive that succession plan to make sure that we leave something behind that can't be stopped.
A new honour for the former Australian of the Year.
Never give up. There's a lot of things in this world that you could be knocked off the sort of your path, but keep true to your path and keep true to yourself and don't give up.
John McKechnie, also recognised, a former Supreme Court judge and now the head of the Corruption and Crime Commission.
We are a great country and we have very little corruption. In the Transparency Index, we rank about 13th and 14th. We're very low in corruption.
Former WA cricket boss Christina Matthews honoured for her significant service to cricket and women.
It's great recognition for everybody who's helped me and helped me to grow.
After calling stumps on her career, she hopes her good work is continued. Helping people in need is the driving force behind Elizabeth Perrin's charity work. The chair of her late father Stan Perrin's Foundation honoured today.
When people are there, like children or homelessness, and you see the reaction on these people's faces when they receive their meal, or children getting a certain education or music or something like that, it's so rewarding. It's the best thing.
And former Seven Sunrise host David Koch awarded for his service to media and economic journalism.
What I loved about Sunrise was how we were able to galvanise the community to do good things. And I think that's the Aussie spirit, and Australians gravitated towards us and still do.
More than 1,000 other Aussies recognised today for helping others and making a difference. Chantel Toohey, 7 News.
Now to the rest of the day's news. Virgin Australia's cargo staff at Perth Airport will be retrained on how to handle pets travelling on planes. A furious dog owner, feeling helpless in the terminal, recorded video of her beloved animal on the hot tarmac in a cage wrapped in plastic.
Watching on in horror as her dog is left in overwhelming heat.
It turned into one of the most stressful and traumatic experiences of my life.
Locked inside this travel crate was Kelsey Partridge's 6-year-old Japanese Spitz, Navi. The air holes covered by plastic at Perth Airport 2 weeks ago as the temperature rose above 30 degrees.
I really would love to know what moron thought that was a efficient and safe way to restrain the animals.
4 animals were getting shipped. Owners pleaded with Virgin staff in the terminal, who were then caught in a 30-minute standoff with ground staff to get the dogs out of the sun. The RSPCA says it takes only minutes for a dog to develop life-threatening heat stroke. Kelsey says after a 4-hour flight nightmare when her dog reached Melbourne, it was dehydrated and distressed.
Just be better. Have better systems in place. Train your staff better.
Virgin told 7 News it's doing just that, conceding their team could have done better, and the cargo and ramp teams have undergone an internal review of processes, and both teams have undergone further coaching and training. Navi's fine today. Her mum has one final message for airlines.
Don't try and kill people's animals. It's terrible.
Nick Overall, 7 News.
Some developing news out of the UK tonight. King Charles has been taken to hospital for scheduled surgery. He needs what Buckingham Palace has described as a corrective procedure to treat an enlarged prostate. When the news broke, web searches for prostate checks surged. The procedure is said to be low risk.
Anthony Albanese has dismissed Peter Dutton's call for an early election over his revamped tax cuts. The opposition labelled the redesign a broken promise that'll rob Australian workers of $28 billion in the long run.
Flagging new divisions on Australia Day.
So are you going to vote against a tax cut for 11 million Australians or not?
You want a gold star, Jason, for lying to the Australian people?
The government defying calls from the opposition to put its rewrite of the Stage 3 tax cuts to the people and go to an early election.
We have a liar in the lodge, and Anthony Albanese is a weak man.
This isn't the easy decision. This is the right decision.
Arguing 84% of Australians will get a bigger tax cut under the shake-up, which halves tax breaks promised to those earning above $200,000, but hands larger cuts to everyone earning up to $146,500.
I don't consider it a broken premise. I think they've improved on a commitment to return some taxes.
If you go into an election and say you're not going to break any promises, you should go with it. That's what people vote for.
The government demanding to know what the opposition will vote for.
Are you saying that you're going to jack taxes back up again if you win the next election?
I'm not going to announce today what we're going to take forward to the next election.
But seizing on Treasury modelling, which reveals keeping the 37% tax threshold but applying it to those earning between $135,000 and $190,000 will rake in an extra $28 billion over the next decade through bracket creep.
We are returning bracket creep where it matters most and where it hurts the most, which is in Middle Australia.
Economists estimate the tax revamp will inject an extra $3 billion into the economy, but say because it'll take time for that money to hit workers' bank accounts, it won't have much of an impact on inflation.
It's not going to change what was going to happen to interest rates either.
Still predicting the first cut at Christmas.
Lovely.
Rob Scott, 7 News.
Australian lottery history could be made next week after last night's Powerball jackpot soared. A record-breaking $200 million is now up for grabs.
Already in the running, but what to do with $200 million?
A penthouse in Broadbeach.
I'll go to Vegas. I talked to my financial accountant, the wife.
Surely there'd be some leeway if he landed the next Powerball prize after last night's draw.
And tonight's Powerball was number 10.
Proved unsuccessful.
There were no Division 1 winners, so it has jackpotted to that record-breaking $200 million for next Thursday night's draw.
The most on offer in Australian lottery history, leading to a mad dash for more tickets.
Didn't do any good, but Kathy won.
Yeah, how much did you win?
$12.
What are you going to buy with that?
Probably another ticket.
For Division 1 wins in the past 6 months, New South Wales has been the luckiest state, raking in $357 million. Victoria close behind, $200 million in winnings. Third was Queensland, scoring $70 million. More than 7,000 tickets were sold in a single minute, around an hour before last night's draw. By next Thursday, half of all Aussie adults will be in the running for the record-breaking Powerball.
Oh, it showed a lot of people and, enjoyed my life.
And your chances?
1 in 134 million.
For many, that won't matter. Jordan Quinn, 7 News.
But you've got to be in it to win it. Now, Samantha Jolly joins us.
And it's been a great start to the long weekend, Sam.
Yeah, we can say good evening. A warm and sunny Australia day. Hardly a cloud in the sky. Our top this afternoon was just shy of 30 degrees and it is a really nice night. It's still 24 in the city at the moment and the winds are light and it's dipping to 18 later on. Tropical Cyclone Kiri made landfall in far north Queensland last night near Townsville, bringing down trees and power lines and leaving tens of thousands without power. It is the second cyclone to hit Queensland in as many months. The system has been downgraded to a tropical low, and that tropical low that's brought heavy rain to WA's north this week is now starting to break up over our interior. I'll take a closer look at how the rest of our long weekend is shaping up, and Mark Lacroix will have all your boating information a bit later, Rick and Sue.
Thanks, Sam. First, it was a jewellery heist.
Now a hammer has been used in hold-ups. Next, new details on a Perth crime spree as a man is charged.
Also, Donald Trump's 3 minutes in court over a sickening change room ordeal.
A legal first, the parents of a school shooter charged for giving him the gun.
The soccer coach dealt a blow over a controversial kiss.
Plus an emergency touchdown in Turkey while the plane was flying so low.
And later, how you can save on school lunches when kids head back to classrooms. That's coming up.
A 46-year-old man has been charged after a dramatic diamond heist in Subiaco. Jaden Victor Conway was arrested at a hotel in the Perth CBD overnight after allegedly fleeing the Diamond Collective yesterday with a number of jewels. Police say he also targeted a bottle shop and a fast food store in the city overnight, demanding cash. He's been charged with 2 counts of armed robbery and attempted armed robbery.
Donald Trump has given evidence at a trial which will decide how much he'll have to pay for defaming a woman he sexually abused in a department store change room. His appearance was short, but not without drama.
Departing Trump Tower for a hotly anticipated courtroom stand that, in the end, lasted just 3 minutes. The presiding judge, wary the former president would turn his court into a campaign stop, warned Trump to stick to the questions. I just wanted to defend myself, my family, and frankly, the presidency, Trump said, when asked if he ever intended to hurt his accuser, E. Jean Carroll.
His answers appeared to stick within the boundaries of what he is allowed to say. So that might be the real news today.
Off limits any of the established facts in this defamation trial, that Donald Trump did sexually assault the former journalist and that he did defame her.
She's a whack job.
Told at one point by the judge to keep his voice down after gesturing and loudly declaring, "I never met the woman. I don't know who this woman is." Trump's testimony ends this trial and sets up what could be a major financial hit to the former president. E. Jean Carroll's demanding more than $15 million in damages. Now it's over to a New York jury. In New York City, David Woywood, 7 News.
Former Spanish soccer boss Luis Rubiales is set to stand trial for kissing player Jenny Hermoso after her World Cup victory. A judge concluded the Sydney incident was not consensual. Prosecutors have also accused several Spanish football executives of allegedly trying to coerce Ms Hermoso into saying the kiss had been. Lawyers now have 10 days to formally request a trial.
A mother is facing trial in the US for allegedly failing to stop her son carrying out a deadly school shooting. Jennifer Crumbly's 15-year-old boy killed 4 students in Michigan. Prosecutors say she was aware of her son's poor mental health but bought him a gun 4 days before the shooting. She's pleaded not guilty. Her husband will also face trial, the first parents ever to be charged over a school shooting by their child.
The International Court of Justice will hand down an interim verdict in the coming hours after South Africa filed a case against Israel accusing it of genocide in Gaza. A ruling on the case itself is still years off, but the judges could order a ceasefire while it deliberates. Even if it does, the body has no power to enforce the ruling. Hamas says it will agree to release all Israeli hostages if Israel releases its Palestinian prisoners.
A Turkish military plane has been spotted flying at dangerously low altitudes. The aircraft encountered technical problems during a training exercise and had to make an emergency landing, forcing it to skim over a busy road and a stadium. None of the crew was injured.
Cyclone Kiri crosses the east coast.
Next, tens of thousands without power. 2 cyclones in as many months. Queensland battered again.
The Mayor's outrage over fear in Ellenbrook as police swoop after 7 News broadcasts this video.
The battle over buttered chicken, the recipe row that's ended up in court.
Making your dollars stretch further at lunchtime. Top tips for back to school.
And why diet bars and health shakes could be doing more harm than good. That's next.
For fans of true crime, a podcast taking you inside the country's most intriguing court cases. Australia's sharpest legal minds join the West's veteran journalist Tim Clark. The trials happening right now. Caught in the Act. New episodes every Friday.
Police have seized a dirt bike they believe may have been involved in the shopping centre rampage in Ellenbrook. Officers swooped after shocking video was shown on 7 News last night.
A rampage through the heart of Ellenbrook that's left locals scared but not surprised.
Mum's been going on a lot of walks with our puppy and she comes home scared. They come riding up to her, scaring our dog.
Tearing through a shopping centre and trashing restaurants, the City of Swan Mayor today condemning the behaviour.
I describe the behaviour in the footage as ridiculous and immature from a group of individuals that are, out to cause havoc in the community.
But it might now be game over for these hooning teens. Police today raiding a home on Millstream Grove and seizing one of these dirt bikes.
Officers say the dirt bike was allegedly stolen from a home in East Victoria Park just over 2 weeks ago. They're now questioning an 18-year-old as the investigation continues.
I'd just like to encourage the public to call into police and let them know any details they might have of people you see on bikes, any camera footage you have, any details that might help assist them.
To slam brakes on behaviour that's put the suburb in danger for far too long.
Just not a very safe environment at the moment. That's good that something's getting done.
Nick Overall, 7 News.
Queensland has been hit by its second cyclone in as many months. Kiri slammed into Townsville, bringing down trees and power lines and leaving tens of thousands of people without power.
Kiri crashes into Queensland, bringing down trees and power lines. Boats broke their moorings, the Skylark no match for cyclonic winds.
Hello?
Fortunately, no one was on board. The Category 2 system made landfall around 10 last night.
Oh, the lightning.
Most people stayed indoors, except one lone backpacker spotted by our news crew.
Well, I'm from Scotland, so I thought I'm normally used to this kind of weather.
He'd just arrived by bus from Cairns.
It's chaos, trees everywhere, crazy wind.
Dropped to his hostel that was hosting a cyclone party. One of many. More than 250,000 people were in the path of the storm. Kiri reached Category 3 in the hours before it crossed the coast, but lost strength on approach. The strongest recorded wind gust on the mainland was 107 kilometres an hour at Alva Beach.
Yeah, it was a bit scary actually, it was fairly windy.
On Hamilton Island, winds reached 115 kilometres per hour. In Townsville, gusts reached 93 kilometres an hour. Still, it toppled trees and crushed cars.
Last night I saw a trampoline flying.
The SES has responded to more than 200 calls for help. This morning, 64,000 households were without power. Sally Geit, 7 News.
Popular health bars, diet shakes and sports foods could be doing more harm than good. A study by Deakin University tested 558 products. It found at least a third contained more calories than were listed on the label. The researchers also warned that extremely processed foods could cause imbalances in healthy gut bacteria and undermine mental health.
The fight over who invented a much-loved curry dish is heating up and headed to court. It's a battle over butter chicken and who can claim bragging rights for the original recipe.
Mild and creamy butter chicken, a takeaway favourite, now one of India's most famous exports. It was invented nearly 80 years ago. But just who came up with the recipe is going from a kitchen to the courts.
This fight is more slippery than all the butter in the butter chicken.
The descendants of these men are in the culinary knife fight. The pair worked together in Delhi in the 1940s. Their families have since opened their own eateries and both claim to have created the original butter chicken. The argument has now reached the Delhi High Court.
Recipes are very, very personal. People hold them very close to their hearts.
While the world is loving it, in India, a battle has erupted.
The legal fight has India talking about which dynasty should be crowned the butter chicken creator.
Butter chicken.
Restaurant Moti Mahal believes they invented the dish and are suing Daya Arganj, who trademarked the tagline "Inventors of Butter Chicken" in 2018.
Heavyweight restaurants battling it out. I think it's $250,000 is at stake. And it's honour at stake.
The next court hearing is in May.
I mean, I was also not expecting it to become such a big news because, I mean, the question now is who invented the butter chicken? And I think the world will know soon.
The fight expected to be spicy. Graham Butler, 7 News.
Our new Australians of the Year really are remarkable.
Coming up, new details on their world-first research that truly puts our nation on the map.
Plus a tourism boost for Perth as a major airline increases flights.
Tips on affordable school lunches before classes resume next week.
And coming up in sport, the king of Rod Laver Arena is dethroned, the swagger is back at the Dockers, and look who was prominent at the Wildcats last night.
Now, Fuel Watch. Perth's petrol prices brought to you by Fuel Watch and 7 News.
Emirates is bringing back a second daily flight between Perth and Dubai. The Boeing 777-300 aircraft will be in addition to the airline's current A380 service, connecting WA to a network of 140 destinations globally. The service will resume from December the 1st.
The remarkable moment the steeple of a historic church came crashing down in Connecticut has been caught on security camera. Only one person was inside, but they were able to get out safely. The cause of the collapse is not yet known. The church was built in 1850 and was all but destroyed, with the front section largely crumbled.
We're learning more tonight about the two remarkable professors named Australians of the Year and their inspiring story. Richard Scollier and Georgina Long remind us that being Australian is about more than just heritage or culture. It's about endeavour, and theirs is to save us all from cancer.
Hats on and all smiles as our new Australians of the Year posed for photos with the Prime Minister.
These are people who have made a difference already.
saved lives.
The sunburnt country honouring two warriors in the fight against skin cancer. Professors Richard Scolyer and Georgina Long have pioneered immunotherapy research, causing survival rates to soar.
These immunotherapy drugs have come so far, and ultimately they've saved my life.
Our goal is to achieve 0 deaths from melanoma.
Using their speech to thank patients who participated in trials but lost their fight.
That is Aussie mateship at its very best.
In a tragic twist, Richard Scolyer has been diagnosed with terminal brain cancer.
I don't want to die. I love my life, my family. I have so much more to do.
Including sacrificing his body for science in a world-first experiment, ignoring traditional treatments, receiving immunotherapy before removing the brain tumour.
The data we have generated from this fearless approach is already changing the field.
From the field of sport,
6 gold medals for Emma McKeon.
Our most decorated Olympian is now Young Australian of the Year.
It's all different kinds of feelings, but it's all equally special.
Yelme Yunupingu, the Senior Australian of the Year, for a life dedicated to teaching English and Indigenous languages to children in Arnhem Land.
I haven't stopped wanting to educate people to see the benefit in both worlds.
For his love of the prehistoric world, Queensland's David Elliott is our local hero. He's transformed a shed in Winton into the Age of Dinosaurs Museum, a major tourist attraction.
Keeping the small communities of outback Australia alive is imperative.
A busy 24 hours for the Australians of the Year, who this morning joined the Prime Minister and new citizens for a ceremony beside Lake Burley Griffin, which included an Australian flag draped from a Seahawk helicopter and a 21-gun salute. Honouring remarkable Australians. Josh Martin, 7 News.
Kids are set to return to the classroom in just days, and the lunchbox battle is back. For many parents, it's a daily burden that can also be very costly. Coming up, how to make big savings on back-to-school lunches. The experts share their top tips. Don't miss that story soon on 7 News.
First, Adrian, Barich has sport, and there's been a stunning upset at the Australian Open, Barra.
There has, Sue. Rick, yes, the Joker's love affair with Melbourne, it's over. That's next. Plus, Sean Darcy's got his swagger back. But another Dockers star leaves match practice holding his head. Details coming up. And the run, it's finally over. Novak Djokovic eliminated at the Australian Open by a next-generation superstar.
7 News knows Perth.
Headlines flash by all day.
But to know the news, watch 7 News at 6 o'clock.
And here's why.
It was members of the gang crime squad that arrested him.
Our reporters are newsbreakers.
Are you a victim of their negligence?
With more exclusive reports that dig deeper
And demand answers.
We commit to travel to wherever the stories happen, even the front line.
Chris Reason from Channel 7 Australia.
As international news unfolds in Europe,
we're live to you at 6 p.m.
breaking down the global issues that matter back home in Perth. 7 News understands.
Our reporters travel from suburb to suburb.
Here in Joondalup
and across our state to bring you the news.
I can confirm.
This is the team we trust.
And thank you
for trusting 7 News.
Australia is in trouble at the Gabba after a stunning West Indian fight back. The Aussies collapsed to be 4 for 24 inside 5 overs, headlined by Steve Smith's third failure as a test opener.
A fight we hadn't seen in years. The Windies needing to use the force, the Aussies looking to strike back.
No, put down! Put down! That is a rarity from Cam Green.
It took an hour for the stern West Indian resistance to slip up.
All gone, slipped, all over.
The first session belonged to debutant Kevin Sinclair, a half-century on debut. The tourists finally all out for 311, more than their 2 innings in Adelaide combined. Then, reason for the Calypso Kings to dream big.
Oh, big shout. Did he get outside the line?
He didn't. Smith's brief reprieve overturned on review.
I need you to reverse your not-out decision to out.
His third knock up top over after just 6 balls. Labuschagne lasting half as long.
Off the edge, what a catch! It's a blinder!
Gone for 3, the debutante's day getting even better. Roach tickled pink, green left seeing red.
In the air, he's out!
The Windies winding back the clock.
Did he tickle that? This could be disaster! He's gone!
The Bison fighting back in Bison fashion.
Just like that.
But the party didn't last.
Oh, that's out. Clothed it. The simplest of catches, and Australia are now in all sorts.
Down to the world's Test Player of the Year and Test Keeper of the Year, Alex Carey surviving by millimetres.
Yeah, look at that. Oh, look at the bail rotating.
As the Brisbane Heat celebrated their BBL title win, Carey was inspired.
Well, this has gone high, and it's travelled, and it's gone all the way.
Smashing a half-century in 38 balls. Khawaja went to dinner at the Lone Soldier, Carey gone for 65, Stark for 2.
Edge gone!
Late in the day, shoulder troubles for Shamar Joseph. Shouldering the load, Cummins and Khawaja, an 81-run partnership before Khawaja fell for 75.
Off the edge and taken!
Australia crawling towards stumps. Lockie Burns, 7 News.
And England couldn't win back the Ashes with Bazball last year, and it took just one day in India to receive another reality check.
Oh, he gets the wicket. What a ball from Jasprit Bumrah. It's almost as if the batter was trying to do too much on that ball.
Ben Stokes' men were all out for 246 on the opening day of the first test in Hyderabad. India made light work of England's spin-heavy attack, building towards a big first innings lead with the tourists already in disarray. After 5 years, Novak Djokovic's winning streak at the Australian Open is finally over. Anya Sabalenka is one win from back-to-back titles, taking on the 12th seed Chinese star in the women's decider, while 22-year-old Italian Yannick Sinner stunned the 24-time Grand Slam champ to reach his first major final.
More superhero than tennis player, this was as close as we've seen to Novak Djokovic powerless.
What a start!
The 10-time champion, completely off his game, broken twice in the first set by Yannick Sinner, the Italian barely raising a sweat.
Perfectly played.
No laughing matter for the Joker, 29 unforced errors in the first 2 sets, doing everything to rev himself up and the crowd.
Oh my goodness, what a save!
Not enough to stop his worst start to a Grand Slam match, 6-1, 6-2.
Sinner smashing this semi-final.
But there's no giving up for Novak.
Yeah, he's made it.
The king of Rod Laver Arena saving match point to force a 4th set, a cardinal sin by the 4th seed. Yannick quickly repenting, breaking Djokovic again. This time, there was no coming back, finally dethroned.
There's a new king in Melbourne.
I have the feeling that I can still improve a lot, and that's why I have a great team behind me, and that we will keep pushing.
Chasing revenge for her US Open final defeat, Aryna Sabalenka got it against Coco Gauff.
I wouldn't say that the memory is really bad from the last match we played. I mean, I lost that one, but it's just an extra motivation for me.
Yet to drop a set, now the heavy favourite to win back-to-back titles.
Not like I'm ignoring the pressure. Worst case, you're going to lose it next year, nothing to defend.
Zhang Qinwen into her first Grand Slam final, 10 years since China's first and only Oz Open champion, Li Na.
She told me, don't think too much, just go for it. I mean, that's enough, I think.
James Manton, 7 News.
It was good news for Freo fans today, with star ruckman Sean Darcy involved in match simulation training for the first time since ankle surgery. But brilliant midfielder Andrew Brayshaw finished with a bandaged head. After 6 months out of full training, Sean Darcy thrilled the crowd at Coburn today. He was involved in 30 minutes of match play and showed he's close to fully recovered. Fellow midfielder Andrew Brayshaw had a shorter session, forced to sit out after copping a knock to his face. He later returned to run laps. Veteran superstar Nat Fyfe again showing good signs as he worked exclusively in the midfield alongside young dynamos Hayden Young and Matt Johnson. If Freo are to go deep in season 2024, Josh Tracy will need to hold up alongside rising star Jai Amos. And today he looked the goods. With a 4-day break ahead, the Dockers completed a gruelling 3-hour session. And there was no holding back the premiers today. Collingwood's favourite son Nick Dacos lucky to escape unscathed after a brutal tackle on Nathan Murphy. And the Tigers, well, they're thinking out of the box. A life-sized camel added to the Richmond inner sanctum ahead of Adamuze's first year. The reason? A camel can withstand extreme conditions. There may be fears now that there's a blueprint to defeat the Perth Wildcats after the Illawarra Hawks brought the Cats' winning streak to an end. Bryce Cotton was closely checked, managing just 13 points as the Hawks ran away in the second.
Lee gave up the three. And young Aldrich, young fella, just making himself known at RAC Arena.
Yeah, the Cats were beaten by 18 points. Star Eagles draftee Harley Reid was there, though, with Campbell Chesser and West Coast great Luke Shuey.
He's the most hyped AFL player, the youngster. Hasn't even played a game yet. Harley Reid of the West Coast Eagles.
Tomorrow, Perth play Phoenix, who are fresh off an upset win against reigning champs, the Sydney Kings. And that was quite remarkable because the commentators, all they talked about was Harley Reid. And there was Luke Shuey, Eagles' great former captain, no mention.
All about young guns.
It is about young
now,
guns.
Barry, you were saying before that Harley Reid could be known as the new Prince of Perth of the Eagles. That was Ben Cousins' name, but what do you think if he lives up to his potential?
I don't want to put too much pressure on him, but close.
Thanks, Barry. It's crunch time for the family budget with the start of the new school term just days away.
School lunches are just one of the cost pressures parents are facing, but experts have shared their top tips to help make your dollars stretch a little further.
The school holiday hangovers about to hit families. Uniforms, fees and, let's not forget, lunches.
I think you have to really plan out exactly what you're going to put in lunch boxes. You have to be so conscious about what's going into it and also, try and keep the costs down.
Flinders University researchers say parents are now spending around $25 per child per week. For a family of 4, that's $100.
This is just school lunches alone, let alone breakfast and dinner.
A 20% rise in 5 years in the cost of food and drinks hasn't helped.
While some families are spending more to get convenient options for lunchboxes, others can't afford to send anything to school. So we need to find a way to support all families.
Experts have these tips to help ease the pressure.
You really want to make sure you're buying what's in season, what's locally grown, because it's definitely going to make your dollars stretch further.
Make the most of leftovers. Stock up when on sale. Budget-conscious parents often buy in bulk, then divide it into smaller portions. Grocers say you really shouldn't need to throw anything out. Try cooking and baking with any overripe fruit and veg, and some items like bananas can be frozen to make smoothies. No matter which strategy you use, make sure your child's getting a balanced meal.
Try and pack foods which contain all of the different food groups, and try and pack things like protein and carbohydrates, which gives children that energy and fullness across the school day. Food for thought. Ashley Kanowski, 7 News.
Sam Jolly's back with the forecast for the rest of your Australia Day long weekend.
Oh, it's already been a great start, hasn't it, Rick? Today was warm and sunny. It is even hotter tomorrow. And we'll have your boating information after the break as well. Happy Friday, and our public holiday didn't disappoint. It's been warm and sunny for Australia Day. Our top this afternoon was just shy of 30 degrees, and it's a nice evening. It is still 23 degrees in the city at the moment. Winds are southerly at 19 kilometres an hour, and it's dipping to 18 degrees later on. Tropical Cyclone Kiri made landfall in far north Queensland last night. The system has been downgraded to a tropical low, and the tropical low that's brought heavy rain to WA's north this week is now starting to break up over the interior. For the capital city, partly cloudy and 23 in Melbourne tomorrow. We have a cloudy start for Canberra and Sydney, a top of 23 in Adelaide. And around WA tomorrow, a possible storm and 34 in Kununurra. It's looking sunny, 34 in Carnarvon, sunny and 29 the top for Margaret River. So we're getting down to 18 tonight before a sunny top of 33 degrees tomorrow. It's staying sunny on Sunday, 28 the top, 31 on Monday, and then it gets very hot. We have 38 on Tuesday and for Wednesday, a top of 35 on Thursday. Now here's Mark Lacroix with what's happening on the water this long weekend.
Well, thanks, Sam. It's been a windy week, but it's looking like we might get a little break for a fish over the weekend. Let's check it out.
Expect southeasterly winds 10 to 15 knots, shifting south to southwesterly 15 to 20 knots in the middle of the day. Seas around a metre and a southwesterly swell 1.5 metres dropping throughout the morning. The low tide at Roddo's at 6:42am, the highs at 9:52pm, similar times in Freo. If you're keen on a surf, the swell's dropping today It's looking like it'll be a nice day at the beach though, so if you take the board along, there might be some small waves along the beach breaks. If you're going fishing, tailor and squid have been caught off North Mole. The odd wahoo's been trawled up at the Fads out behind Rottnest Island, and some big mulloway have come from the Swan River at Mosman Bay and around Eastshed. And how good are tonight's viewer picks? Stefan Cavallaro caught this awesome 78cm jewfish off Bunbury. Jude Doy reckons his new fishing rod from Santa's a weapon, and he proved it with this ripper tailor. And how about this 35cm yellowfin whiting Yuki DeCampo reeled in down at Augusta? Keep emailing us your pictures to fishing@7.com.au to be featured.
Well, enjoy the water this weekend, stay safe, and I'll catch you next week.
Thanks, Mark, and that's 7 News for this Australia Day.
Enjoy the rest of your long weekend here on 7.